All right, there we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to give it a second before we get started. If you haven't done so already, you should see a poll that's kind of popped up to your right. This poll is just going to ask you how you heard about this webinar, whether or not you heard it via email or through social media or through some other avenue. All of the polls that you guys fill out help us to just improve these webinars in the future. So if you guys can provide feedback or answer that poll, I would most appreciate that. I think we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know, I've seen several people who have joined today are frequents of our webinar Wednesday series. For those of you who are new, my name is Nicole. I am the Director of Customer Success here for the Neat Company. With me today, I have George and Tia, who are two of our customer success representatives at the Neat Company, and they're going to be active in chat helping me to answer all of your Neat related questions today. So as we go through the webinar, if there are any questions that pop into your mind, please feel free to pop those questions in the chat, and George, Tia, or myself will get you an answer as soon as we possibly can. So we do have an agenda today. The agenda you can see in front of you. Today, we're going to go through a few things. First, I'm going to do just a quick overview about the different Neat plans and feature sets that are available, just so that I can make sure everybody here is on the same page and we know which feature sets we're talking about today. Then I'm going to move into a demo where I'm going to talk to you guys about the transaction features associated with our automated insights plan. I'll be sure to tour you around that section and demo some of the key automation features there. And then lastly, with whatever time we have left, we'll do a quick Q&A session where I'll try to answer any unanswered questions that have come through in chat. And I do have some questions that were sent in before this webinar that I can answer as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, I wanted to do a quick overview of the different Neat feature sets and plans available in Neat. I want to make sure that everybody here, we're all on the same page and we know which section of the application we're talking about. So Neat offers three main feature sets. We offer files features, transactions features, and invoicing features. Now, our Neat base plan includes access to all of the files features. In fact, all of our plans get you access to files. It's the base plan. It's what everybody gets access to basically at the base level. Files features provide you with all of the tools that you need to organize and manage your documents efficiently. And files features also support expense management, though, as you'll see through this webinar, through a more manual process. Then we have our transaction feature sets, and transaction features are completely focused on expense tracking and management. So if those are your goal is to accomplish expense tracking and management, transaction features, would be something you'd want to take a look at. Transaction features offer more automated processes. For example, you have, the automated streaming of all new transactions as soon as they're available that happen with Neat. We also allow you to map vendors with categories to automate expense categorization within transactions. And there's the benefit of the automated expense insights that you can view, with just the click of a button. The last feature set that is available are our invoicing features, which allow you to create lists of your customers, your products, and your services. You can create custom invoices that you can send to your clients from Neat, and you can even customize an automated invoice notification email to remind your clients about upcoming or past due invoices. Now, both our transaction features and our invoicing features require that you are on or upgrade to our Neat Plus Automated Insights plan. And the Automated Insights plan also includes all of the files features as well. So if you're on Neat Plus Automated Insights, you have access to everything in Neat, all of the features that are available in Neat. Today, we're going to focus on that middle section, specifically the transaction feature sets. So let's move on to our next slide here. So the transaction feature sets in Neat are entirely driven by your connected transactions. So you get your transactions connected to Neat using a tool called transaction streaming. And transaction streaming allows you to sync your bank credit card, and other financial accounts to Neat so that all your transactions from all of your different various financial accounts are all connected to Neat and viewable in one space. You won't need to log into several different institutes to get a snapshot of your finances with Neat. Instead, everything will stream into one place and you can view all of that data together within the transactions grid. Neat will automatically pull in your transaction details as they occur as well, providing you with up-to-date insights about your finances and making it so that you don't have to do any additional work to see new transactions stream into Neat. Now, in my opinion, for the purposes of financial management, expense tracking, and budgeting specifically, transaction streaming and the transaction feature sets could actually replace your Neat file cabinet and the more manual processes that come with getting your files into Neat, such as having to upload your files to Neat, reviewing them and checking them for accuracy, categorizing them, and then filing them away. The Neat file cabinet and files features are a great solution for document storage and organization and is certainly used by many users for expense management. However, transaction streaming can take your expense management and your expense tracking to the next level because it can help you streamline certain expense tracking processes that'll help you save time and effort. Now, the automated insights plan comes with both the files and transactions features, like I mentioned, and you can actually also use both the files and the transaction features together and actually connect them together. You can actually connect the raw data from your transactions with the matching supporting source documents from your Neat file cabinet in Neat through a tool called suggested matching. And Neat will both automatically suggest matches to you based on similarities between your files and transactions, and it also allows you to manually connect or add documents to your transactions as well. We're going to talk about transaction matching in more detail in our demo portion of this webinar. For now, what I want to do is I want to open up Neat and show you guys what this looks like. And while I get that set up, I'm going to share a poll with you guys right now as well. And this poll is just going to ask you if you are currently using transaction features in Neat. So let us know if it's something that you're using, are not using, or maybe not using but interested in using. Looks like a few people are already using it, and several people have mentioned that they're interested in checking out these features. I assume that's why you're here today. A few say no, but we'll see if, after taking a look at what these features offer, whether or not you might be interested in that. So here we are within Neat. So again, Neat has 3 specific feature sets. Right now, under Do My Books is the accounts and transaction streaming features. This is where we're going to be today in this section. Your files features are under Organize My Files, and your invoicing features are here by Bill My Customers. So those are where the different feature sets live. Today, we're going to live in the accounts and transactions section. Now, the very first step, if you're just getting started with transactions in Neat, I recommend that the very first step to take is to get your various financial accounts connected to Neat. Now, if you've never previously connected an account to Neat for transaction streaming, when you come to this section, you'll only have 2 options. Either add an account to get started, which is what I'm going to show you how to do in a moment, or you can actually also enable demo data as well. So if you are not ready to connect an account to Neat, but you're interested in seeing how this section works, you can enable demo data, and you can actually play around with some sample data that we provide you so that you can take a look at your insights and your monthly review. As I mentioned, all of the features associated with transactions are driven by the transactions that are here. So you need to have transactions here in order to be able to actually see the functionality in this section. Now, as you can see, I've already previously added an account, so my getting started process is a little bit different. But if you wanted to add an account, you would just click Add Account here, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to choose to connect a bank account to Neat. Now, here within the connection window, you are going to be able to select from over 10,000 different financial institutions that you can connect to Neat. Some of the popular ones are right here, like Wells Fargo, Capital One, Bank of America. But if your financial institution isn't here, you can just simply search for it using the search bar here. And I am using a demo site. So this is a site that was created specifically to demonstrate some features within this transactions section of Neat. Once you select the account that you want to log into, you will then actually log into your financial institution as if you were logging directly into it. So, for example, if I were connecting a Wells Fargo account to Neat, I would now log into my Wells Fargo account as if I'm logging into my Wells Fargo account on, their direct site. So I have a account that I'm going to connect now with you guys live so you can see what that process looks like. Just give me 1 second while I finish that, and then I'm going to click submit. Now, it's going to take a few moments here for it to verify my credentials, pull up my account data, and then start streaming in my transactions. Now, during the initial login process to your financial institute, you may need to fulfill certain multi-factor authentication requirements, and these requirements come from your financial institution. So each of your different financial institutions are going to have their own specific multi-factor authentication rules and requirements. Some institutions may not require anything, like the one that I just connected. Some other institutes may require that they text you a code that you would then enter here. And some institutions are so strict that they'll actually require a phone call where they'll actually call you and verify that it's okay to connect your financial account to Neat. Unfortunately, this is not something that Neat can control. We really have to abide by each financial institute's rules and requirements to establish a connection with that financial institution. However, once your account is connected, like it is now, I'll click finish. Your account will then show up in this active accounts bar to the left, or I'm sorry, to the right. So here we can see I have this credit card account that I just connected to Neat is now viewable in my active accounts here. Now, when getting started, I definitely recommend as a first step with transactions to connect all of your accounts, the different accounts that you want to stream into Neat as your first step. The reason for that is when you initially connect an account to Neat for transaction streaming, it can take up to an hour for you to see transactions from that institution. And since all of the data and insights and the monthly review is driven by the data in this section, you want to get that data in there as soon as possible in order to make the other sections of this app, of this feature, useful. So I definitely recommend getting all of your accounts connected immediately. Plus, once you get all of your accounts connected, as you can see here in the grid, you'll be able to see transactions from all of your different financial accounts in one space. Now, another thing that you need to be aware of when connecting a financial account through Neat is that there are also limitations on how much of your transactional history you can stream into Neat during that first initial connection. So just like with multi-factor authentication, each of your financial institutions has different rules and restrictions on how many of your transaction history you can actually stream into Neat initially. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my account here real quick. And I just want to share this slide with you again. Like I said, just like with multi-factor authentication, each of your financial institutions has different rules for how much of your transaction history you can initially stream into Neat. Some of your financial institutions will allow you to stream in the past 365 days worth of transactions, plus all new transactions moving forward. Other institutions may limit you to just the last 90 days of transaction history, where some institutions are so rigid that they only allow you to stream the last 30 days of transaction history. So that's something that you should keep in mind is that, your transactional history will be different depending on your financial institution. Now, once your account is connected to Neat, all transactions moving forward will continue to stream into Neat, and you don't have to worry about moving forward transactions. It's just that history. So clearly, this can create a challenge where, say you connect an account to Neat in July, But your specific institution only allows you to stream in the past 90 days of transactions. Well, if you're looking to see the big picture or a snapshot of your 2024, expenses, then you're going to be missing some data from the beginning of the year. Now, we currently have features in development that will address this situation and will actually allow you to manually import a CSV copy of transactions that have been exported from your financial institutions, and also create new transactions for your connected accounts that are missing from the account after that first initial connection, to help you bridge that gap. This feature is actively being worked on right now and is expected to be available by the end of this year. And again, after the initial connection, all new transactions will automatically stream into Neat as they're recorded in your account. There isn't really anything that you need to do to get any new transactions to start to stream in. So let's pop back over now to Neat. All right, so back in Neat, I have connect my account. In addition to connecting, bank, credit card, and loan accounts, you can also create asset and liability accounts in Neat for various assets and liabilities that you have. And you can even log adjustments towards those assets and liabilities to help track their values. You can see here that I have several different accounts connected. I have, my bank accounts, I have my credit card account, I have a loan account here, and an asset account. As you connect accounts, this list of active accounts can get, pretty long. Then you might have to scroll a little bit if you have many, many accounts connected to Neat. If you ever need to manage your accounts, you can also delete and archive accounts whenever you need to. So if you needed to delete an account from here, you can just click your gear icon here and choose delete, and that will allow you to delete that connected financial institution. But it will also delete all of the transactions associated with that institution as well. So you need to be careful about that. If you ever want to reconnect the account in the future, just be aware that, again, the transaction history and how much transaction history a financial institution allows you to stream in could impact, you reconnecting an account and potentially losing older transactions that you previously had connected. Now, if you need to keep transactions, but you no longer want to see an active account listed here, my recommendation is to use the archiving feature instead. So the archiving feature is great if you have switched banks, or maybe you closed an account and you still need that transaction history for your insights and reporting. You just no longer want to see the account active here under your list of active accounts. To archive an account, very easy. You'll just click the gear icon next to the account that you want to archive and then select archive here, and then you can archive the account. Archiving the account will remove it from your list of active accounts, but all of the transactions will remain here in your grid, and it will allow you to continue to use those transactions in your insights and your reporting. You can manage your archived accounts by clicking your name up here at the top right-hand corner and then choosing account settings. And then here you can actually see a list of all of your archived financial accounts. Here you can actually delete an account. Say, for example, you changed banks more than a year ago and you no longer need transactions associated with an archived account. You can go ahead and click delete and actually delete the account and all of the transactions once they're no longer needed. Or if you want to restore that account, you can also just restore that account into your list of active accounts. At that time, when you restore the account, you will need to re-authenticate the account and go through any multi-factor authentication if required by that institute. And then any new transactions from that account will start streaming in from that point. Now, the archiving feature is actually a new feature. We've released it in the last 30 to 60 days. So there's quite a lot of focus right now on transaction features in Neat. This is an area of the application that we're really spending a lot of time and development resources on this year to improve and make better for users. So, I'm going to be sharing a survey with you guys towards the end of this webinar. I'd love for you guys to stick around for that survey. It'll give you the opportunity to tell us what you like about transactions, what you need in transactions. We're really using this as a way to inform our product roadmap and make decisions about what features we should add next to this section. So any and all feedback about this is welcome. All right. So let's take a quick tour of the transaction section now. So here we have, I've connected all of my accounts and I have all my transactions here. I can, manage this section here. I can actually close my list of active accounts by just clicking this little button here. And that just allows me to view the grid in a little bit more, with a little bit more space. Let me actually make this a little bit bigger. And clicking open accounts will allow me to just see my list of active accounts. If you click on any account, it will filter the transactions in the grid here to just the transactions associated with that specific account. So when I click on my bank account here for my checking account, I can see that there are 83 transactions associated with this account, totaling $680. When I click on my savings account, excuse me, I can see that there are only 5 transactions associated with this account, totaling $1,400. So clicking on any one of your accounts will filter your grid to show you only transactions associated with that specific account. If you click View All Transactions, then you can see a blended list of all of the transactions from all of your different connected accounts. And the really cool thing about this as well is that you can actually export this grid as well. So I can actually select everything in my grid and I can export all pages as a CSV file. And doing so allows me to export all of the transactions from all of my different connected accounts to one CSV file, which then I can upload to Excel or to Google Sheets, where I can use those advanced formulas for, cutting up my data into different views so that I can learn different things about my information or about my transactions. Let's see. You also have, I mentioned the totals up top here. So the totals data up here dynamically updates based on the filter that you have applied to the grid. So whenever I filter my transactions to something, this will dynamically update to show me all of the transactions that match that specific filter. So I only have 2 Amazon transactions in here, so I'm only seeing 2 up here now. Another thing is that you also get a quick breakdown of all of the different expense categories associated with the transactions that you're viewing. So at a quick glance, I can take a look and see how much I've spent on entertainment versus like gas or groceries just by clicking the view breakdown here. And the breakdown again will dynamically update based on the filters that you're currently viewing in the grid. You can run a keyword search on your transactions as well. So when you have an automated insights plan, your keyword search up at the top here is a little bit different. You can actually click on this drop down here to switch between searching through your file cabinet or searching through your transactions. So I'm going to select transactions and I'm just going to type in the word movie and press enter. And when I do, Neat pulls up 3 transactions that it thinks matches that search term. So we're going to go through each of these real quick. When Neat runs a keyword search, it's looking for matching keywords from your actual file field data here to the left and any OCR data that has been processed or parsed from a file as well. So it's looking through all of this information to find matching keyword searches or matching key transactions. So the reason it pulled this particular item up is because the word movie appears all over this item. It appears in the vendor, it appears in the description, and it also appears on the file actually, I haven't matched this one yet, so this wouldn't count. But if this were matched here, it would also pull this transaction up because of the matching OCR text data as well. Let's look at the next one. Now, the next one here is the reason this one popped up is because I mentioned the word movie in my notes. So whenever you run a keyword search, if you are running a keyword search that matches keywords in notes for a file, those items will also show up in your search results. So the reason this one popped up is because I specifically mentioned the word movie in my notes here. And lastly, we have this AMC Woodhaven receipt here, this transaction. Now, the word movie doesn't appear anywhere within my file field data. However, it does appear within my OCR text data from this file. So we can see that the word movie actually appears here on the image file itself. And the reason that this file was pulled up in my search results is because that OCR text data matches my search term. So Neat will pull up your transactions based off of any one of these things, based off the matching file field data, based off the matching notes, or based off of the matching OCR text data from any of the files that you've matched to transactions from your file cabinet. Again, we're going to go over transaction matching in more detail in a bit. Let's see. Carol asks, can I attach an image receipt with my transaction? Yes, Carol, absolutely. That is what transaction matching accomplishes for you. Not only will Neat suggest matches to you if it identifies matches from your file cabinet, but you can manually do that as well. And I'm going to show you how you can do that in a bit here. So stick around for that. All right. So let's see what other stuff. So let's talk about the grid a little bit. So the grid has some things here that you should be aware of. One, there's a personal column here. So the transaction features are great for, they're definitely great for small business owners, but they're also great for personal users as well. And you can indicate your personal versus business transactions using this personal column. And if there's a file that you need to mark, or transaction, I'm sorry, that you need to mark as personal, you can actually just put a check mark in the personal checkbox from the grid, and it'll automatically mark that transaction as personal. You don't need to actually open the transaction and mark it as personal, though you can also do it from within the transaction as well. Some other columns that we have are status and matched. So status lets you know whether or not that transaction has been marked as reviewed through our monthly review workflow. We're going to talk about that workflow in more detail. But we basically provide you with this ability to mark transactions as reviewed, allowing you to feel more confident in the fact that your transactions have been reconciled. Then you have this matched column here. And this matched column lets you know whether or not your transaction has a matching source document associated with it or an image associated with it. And you can actually very quickly take a quick look at what image is actually associated with each one of your transactions by just clicking on the image icon associated with that particular transaction. And I can see this is the image associated with this transaction. I can even download this image if I needed to as well as a PDF file and share it if need be. So those are some new columns that you should be aware of. The other columns are a little limited here. You really only have date, vendor description, and category and amount. The rest of the file fields are in the transaction once you open it. So let's open a transaction now. We have this Dunkin' Donuts receipt or transaction here. The transaction description for all your transactions is going to look different than the descriptions that you're seeing associated with my account. The reason for that is because, again, I'm using a demo account to show you all of this information. When you guys connect an account for transaction streaming, your description is going to be much longer. The description that you actually see here is going to be pulled directly from your financial institution's description of that item. So you can feel very confident that the data that you have in your description is accurate with no mistakes because it's coming directly from your financial statement or your financial institution. It'll often include things like the last 4 digits of the card that was used, the vendor information, date information, and things like that within the description. Obviously, you can go in and you can edit your description though, and you can change the description to represent the description you would like to see associated with each of your transactions, however. In addition to these descriptions and vendors, Neat will also categorize your transactions for you. It will categorize your transactions for you based off of what it knows about the vendor. However, we do also offer vendor mapping here in transactions. And vendor mapping will allow you to map specific vendors with specific categories. And so whenever Neat recognizes that a specific vendor has come in, it'll automatically apply your preferred mapped category to that vendor based off of your settings. We're going to take a look at vendor mapping, and I'm actually going to demonstrate that for you in a bit here. But I just want to show you a little bit more around the actual transaction item itself. In addition to this category, this expense category that you also have all of these additional fields as well. So just like the file section, you can add customer details, project details, product details to your transactions, and also notes to your transactions as well. And things like your projects and your customers, and even your notes will flow through to your CSV exports, to your reports, and also to your insights as well. So you can use all of this information later in your reporting. Again, we're going to talk about suggested transaction matching, but Carol, this is kind of what it looks like. When Neat identifies a matching source document from your file cabinet, it's going to suggest that match to you based off of, that information that it's pulling from that file, and you can just quickly select any suggested match that we provide. Again, we're going to go through that in more detail when I go through the monthly review workflow. The last thing that I want to call out in the transaction view is the split transaction feature. So unlike the file cabinet, we actually do have a built-in splitting feature here in transactions. And I actually have a file that I've previously split. So let me show you that. So you can see under the category field, all of these different categories that I've applied to my transactions. Any transaction that has been split into multiple categories is going to show this multiple category instead. And when you hover over multiple, you'll see the various categories that are associated with that split transaction. So let's open this. The key differences here is that I have two line items for this specific transaction. $14.85 is associated with a general merchandise category, and $59 is associated with a gifts category. And you can see I can even add like specific details about, the description, the reimbursable status, and whether or not that specific transaction is personal. I can also even add additional fields to like customers, projects, and such to each of my line items as well. And your line items will also flow through to your CSV reports, to your Neat generator reports, and your insights as well. And to my knowledge, there is no limit to how many times you can split a transaction. I think it's unlimited. So if you need to split your transaction 10, 20 different ways, Neat does support that. All right. So now I want to take a look at some more of the automated features that are available with transactions. Holly just asked, can you split receipts in the files section? Holly, at this point in time, you can't. There's not a built-in feature for splitting files specifically. You could use our copy receipt feature as a workaround that will allow you to copy a file and then designate different amounts and expense categories for each of the different files. But the true splitting feature is only available within transactions right now. Now, again, you can match source documents from your file cabinet to transactions. So you could effectively split a receipt in the file cabinet if you've matched it to a transaction, and then you could split that transaction. So there is some workarounds for that. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. So like I said, I want to show you guys some of the more automated features that are here, starting with vendor mapping. So again, vendor mapping allows you to assign specific expense categories to specific vendors so that when new transactions are streamed into Neat, Neat will automatically apply your preferred and mapped expense category instead of the category it thinks it should be. The automated vendor mapping feature, combined with how Neat is pulling all of that description data from your actual financial institution, gives you that confidence that your insights and your reports are going to be accurate with minimal manual review. Whereas within the Neat file cabinet, I would always recommend that users review each and every file that they upload or add to Neat for accuracy, to make sure that they're applying the best category to it if expense management is the goal, and to make sure it's, they've placed it in the proper location within their folder structure. Whereas with transactions, there are no folders. And a lot of this stuff can be automated through, the automated streaming and this vendor mapping. So Let's look at vendor mapping. You can access vendor mapping by clicking your name up at the top right-hand corner and choosing Map Vendors. Here, I can see a list of all my transaction categories and then all my transaction vendors. Now, your categories and your vendors and transactions can be different from the categories and vendors that you have in your file cabinet. They don't flow through to each other. They can be different. And in fact, we actually bucket up your categories and transactions into different parent categories, such as whether or not the expense category is associated with income or expenses or the costs of goods sold. You can also go in and you can add as many custom categories here as you'd like, and you can also turn off or on common categories that we have provided to you. You can add all of these categories to your files section as well. It's just they're not initially the same when you get started. When you're mapping a vendor, so here's all my mapped vendors. You can see I've gone through and I've mapped many vendors already as it is. I can even go in and I can disable, specific vendors if there are certain vendors I don't want to see. Let's find this one. So I have like this neat subscription vendor here that is currently not categorized. I can go ahead and I can click the drop down here, and then I can just choose the expense category I want to map it to. In this case, I'm going to map it to a non-business expense, and I'm going to map it to a subscription service expense. So now any new neat subscription transactions that come in, Neat knows to automatically apply that subscription service category to it instead of another category like general expenses or general business expenses to it. It will apply that subscription service category instead. And now I'm much more confident in knowing that I don't need to necessarily go through and review all of my transactions to make sure their expense categories are correct. I can be confident that Neat has applied the proper category to my transaction proactively. And you can go through and you can map all of your vendors. You can even preemptively add vendors here as well. So say, for example, you're a small business who just signed a contract with a new vendor for some sort of tool or solution that you're using. You could preemptively add that vendor here and map it to a category so that once that transaction flows through to your streamed transactions, it'll automatically map that category for you, and you don't have to do any mapping at that point in time. So you can be proactive about which vendors you have and which categories they're mapped to. So that's one of the automation features, or one of the ways that you can automate expense management in transactions. I also want to talk about another key automation feature, and that is the automated insights section. So Insights lives here right under accounts and transactions. And like I mentioned already several times, your insights are driven by that transaction data. So you need to have transactions in Neat in order for this section to populate. Right now, we offer 5 different insights that you can see about your transactions at a glance. So you can see your monthly income versus expenses at a glance. You can see your top expense categories where you're spending the most money. So we can see like I've spent the most of my money on rent in this last month. And you can see a breakdown of all of the other categories associated with your transactions. You can see your cash balance. You can take a look at your profit and loss per month, and you can even track total sales and even break total sales down by customer or project as well. Now, we are developing a few new insights to this section this year. Like I mentioned, lots of love and attention is being focused on our transaction features this year. We are working on developing a new insight here that will help you to analyze your spending week over week and month over month, which will aid in budgeting decisions. So we expect that feature to be out later this year, so keep your eyes out for that. But as you can see here, without manually running any reports or making any selections, I'm able to very quickly get these quick insights to my finances, per these different months, and eventually for the whole year as well. And In addition to the insights, don't forget about the reports that are associated with transactions. So if you click on the reports up here, you have transaction reports at the top and file cabinet reports here at the bottom. So these transaction reports allow you to run reports on your transactions. You have your profit and loss statement here, which you can use to get a quick idea of your profit and loss over a given period of time. And you can even choose to see both a summary of that profit and loss statement or a detailed version of that profit and loss statement with all of the various expense categories broken down for you. Clicking on any one of these links will take you to a filtered list of those specific transactions that was driving that number on your profit and loss sheet as well. So you can then export that list if you needed to as well, to a CSV file to be shared with a CPA or accountant or other. In other reports, you also have things like an expense report. And this is something that I think is overlooked. While the expense report is a more manual process, you do have to go in and manually select dates and accounts and make and refine your report. When you create an expense report, what it does is it will take all the transactions for the time period you provided it. It will provide you with a line by line list of all of those transactions, and it'll also include the images that you've matched to any of those transactions as well. So I actually have an example I can show you guys that I've run in the past. I created this transaction expense report for my June 2024 expenses. So the expense report gives me a summary of the breakdown of my different expense categories at the top with the number of transactions associated with each expense category. I can see a line by line breakdown of each of those transactions along with any notes associated with those transactions as well. And then lastly, it also gives me all of the images that I've matched to my transactions as well. So the expense report is really great, especially for tax filing purposes at the end of the year, because you can essentially create an expense report for your yearly transactions, and it will include everything that you need, including those source documents that you can then just send over to your CPA or accountant or whoever is helping you prepare your taxes, at the beginning of any year. So don't forget about the expense report. The expense report is really great. It gives you really everything that you need for filing taxes all in one. Lastly, I want to talk about transaction matching and the monthly review workflow that we have. So let me just open up a file or a transaction, I'm sorry. So we have like this Dunkin' Donuts receipt here or transaction here. So like I've mentioned many times that when you have an automated insights plan, you have access to all of the features available in Neat. And you can actually connect your raw data from your transactions with matching source documents from your file cabinet in the form of a suggested match. So here we have my Dunkin' Donuts receipt, and we can see that Neat is automatically showing me that the data associated with this Dunkin' Donuts transaction matches a Dunkin' Donuts receipt that I have in my file cabinet that's sitting in my 2024 personal expenses folder here. So it's even showing me the folder it's currently in. Now, sometimes Neat may suggest a couple different options to you, and you might have to like click right or left to see the various suggested matches. If you have a bunch of similar receipts or transactions across similar dates, it might not be sure which of these files might match, but you can switch through or browse through those suggested matches and choose the best one. If there isn't a suggested match or you haven't yet uploaded that matching source document, you can also search your file cabinet for a matching source document, or you could just go ahead and attach an image to this transaction through the import process. It will still make you save the file in your file cabinet somewhere, but it'll also automatically match it to the transaction that you're currently viewing. And if there is no source document, I don't know, say if it's like a cash transaction and maybe you don't have a source document for it, you can also choose to just mark a transaction as not having a source document, which will again aid you in the monthly review workflow, which we're going to look at right now. So for matching all of your files with your transactions, we have a workflow that we put together under monthly review that allows you to kind of streamline that process. So when you click on monthly review, you can see all of the different periods that you have. We break up each different period into monthly periods. And then you can see all of your accounts associated with that specific period and how many and what its review status is. So we can see that 88% of this account has been reviewed by me. I can see key details about my period activity, including the total money that came in and came out of my account during that period, with a net and total amount of transactions for that period as well. And then Neat will basically take all your transactions from that account and it'll bucket up your transactions into these different matching buckets here. So here we can see I have 8 transactions that Neat has identified a suggested match for. So I know when I go through these 8 transactions that Neat is going to suggest matches to me for all of those. We also have a bucket for deposits and refunds and credits. And then we also have a catch-all for any other transactions that don't fit any of these buckets as well. And we can see that I have 2 transactions that need to be reviewed within this bucket. When you click on a bucket, it'll show you those transactions specifically, and then you can quickly work through them. So I know that these are all going to have suggested matches. So I can very quickly select it, select this match. It's now this file from my file cabinet is now linked to this transaction. And then this little mark as reviewed button allows me to say, hey, I've reviewed this transaction. I've matched it to a matching source document. It is reviewed. I feel confident it's reviewed. And now I can also mark it as reviewed as well. And then I can work through the rest of these 8 transactions, matching these files, marking them as reviewed, and eventually I will get to 100% review status for this specific account. So I'm just going to keep going. I know that all of these are good. I can just keep selecting. If you need to, you can also remove matches and you can also unmark things as reviewed as well. So once an item's reviewed, it doesn't have to stay in that status. You can mark it as unreviewed and you can remove matches if you find a better source document for it. But I can just go ahead and keep going and keep going. And now I've officially reviewed all of these suggested matches. We can see my monthly review percentage has gone up as well to 98%. And there are now only 2 transactions in this section that need to be reviewed. I believe both of these transactions I matched previously. I just never marked them as reviewed. So I can go in and I can mark them as reviewed. And now I can close this account. This account has been fully reviewed by me, and I can feel confident that all the transactions have matching source documents and have been accounted for. So this dashboard really kind of gives you a clear idea as to exactly what your period activity is like and how much work you have to put in to review all your transactions for a given period. This monthly review workflow is also supported on our mobile application as well. So you can even review transactions whenever you have any free time, whether you're standing in line or if you're bored of social media or maybe you're going to the bathroom. I do know 60% of people use their phone on the toilet. So, you can use that time to review your transactions. Spending a little time each week matching your transactions to matching source documents is a much better practice than waiting to do everything at the end of a period or at the end of the year. Not only that can that be very daunting, but it's also very time consuming as well. And again, monthly review is really great for small business owners and gig workers who have a legitimate need to reconcile their expenses for tax filing. But it's also great for personal users as well who want that super organization, or they just really like the ability to be able to create expense reports with images that'll match their transactions as well. Monthly review might not be for everybody, and that's perfectly fine. If you're not interested in reviewing each of your transactions on a monthly, on a monthly basis, then you can use all of the other features within the transaction section of Neat, and not using monthly review will not affect any functionality. The monthly review will always be there for you if you have, if you want to start using it. So that really brings me to the end of this demonstration today. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to actually post another poll with you guys right now. And this poll is just going to ask you guys, now that you've seen some of the features available in transactions, are you interested in learning a bit more? If you are, let us know. And, someone will follow up with you to be able to answer any additional questions that you have, or maybe even, get you access to automated insight or automated insights features sooner than later. So let us know when that poll pops up to the right. I'm going to share another resource with you guys now as well. So I'm going to share two things with you. One, I'm going to share with you a blog post. So this is a blog post that we recently released at the end of June that also talks about, the power of online banking with Neat, and it goes over some of these features and their benefits. If that's something you're interested in learning more about, go ahead and click that, and that'll get you direct access to that blog post. And I'm also going to share with you guys now, sorry to bombard you with a bunch of things, a handout. So this handout is our quick start guide for the automated insights plan. So if that's something that you're interested in getting started with, go ahead and download the quick start guide, and it's going to give you our recommended steps for getting started with automated insights. So that's a great place to start if you're just getting started with it. And at this point in time, I'm ready to answer questions that have come in that maybe haven't been answered. I answered a few as we went. I'm going to take a look now to see if there are any that haven't been answered. Holly asked whether or not you can edit info and category selection. I'm assuming, Holly, you asked this a little bit earlier, so I apologize, but I'm assuming you're referring to specifically like the details that are here. And absolutely, you can go in and you can edit the description that comes directly from your financial institution. You can change it to whatever you want. You can also change your vendors, and you can also edit your categories as well. So for example, if that's what you're asking about, you can add or edit categories to your list whenever you want. There are certain parent categories that cannot be disabled. So any categories that you see under parent categories, you cannot turn off. However, you can turn on or off common categories, and you can create as many custom categories as you'd like. So I hope that answers your question as well. Looks like some new messages have come in. Holly asked to just piggyback on that question about the descriptions. Holly, the description is going to specifically come from your financial institution. So however your financial institution identifies that transaction is what you're going to see in the description. Your description will look much different than the description that I'm showing you here. And that's because the data that I'm showing you is from a demo account. So you're going to see different information there. But that description is going to come directly from your financial institution, and you can edit it. You can make changes to that description if you prefer. Holly asks, any plans to export to Excel files? At this point in time, not that I'm aware of, Holly. However, you can export your transactions out to a CSV file. CSV files can be imported to Excel and can be imported to like a Google Sheet. I know they're not the exact, and to be honest, I'm not sure if they're. I think you get most of the same features if you open a CSV file in Excel as you would if you were just opening a straight Excel file. But you can absolutely export all of your transactions across all of your financial accounts together as a CSV export. I actually have a demonstration. I actually have it right here. This actually is an example of what the transaction export would look like. So you see, you get all the details about which accounts is associated with the transaction. So you can see all the different accounts connected. We can see like I have my checking and my savings account here along with my asset account. I can also see the categorizations associated with them, amounts, sales tax, and I can also see all the line items associated with them, including any notes associated with those files as well. So, for me, I've never absolutely needed to export something to Excel. I'm not sure if there's a specific need that you have. I know that you can open CSV files in Excel, though, so that might be a good workaround for you. Let's see. There might be one or two more questions that have come in. Let's see. So we finished Holly's. Is there, so R. Ferris asks, is there a comparison chart between Quicken and Neat transactions? Not yet, actually. We are actually working on a comparison page as we speak. We have a few comparison pages that we're putting together: Neat comparative to Mint, Neat comparative to Quicken, Neat comparative to, I think, Expensify as well, or a few of those. So I don't have a direct comparison just yet for you, R. Ferris. We will have one soon. If there are specific features in Quicken that you need to have, please let us know what they are. We can follow up with you and find out what those are, and we can verify whether or not they're available. Holly asked, how can I add items to transactions that aren't streamed automatically, like cash? So, Holly, we do have the ability to add cash transactions here. So we have this little feature called Cash on Hand. If you click on create and you click on transactions here and choose transaction, you can create manual cash transactions here that will allow you to track cash specific transactions. We are working on a feature that will allow you to create manual transactions for other types of transactions that aren't cash transactions, and that feature will be available later this year. So I hope that answers your question. All right. That was great. Those are great questions that came in, guys. Thank you so much. I think we're going to wrap it here. Anybody who expressed interest in transactions or automated insights will follow up with you guys after this. Any questions that haven't been answered, we'll also make sure to follow up on, though I think we got to everything. And I'm just going to share one last thing with you guys right now, which is a survey. And this survey is just going to ask you guys how we did. How do you feel this webinar went? Was it, did you learn anything through this webinar? How could we improve these webinars? Please let us know. All of your feedback is greatly appreciated by myself, and I use all of that information to try to improve webinars moving forward. The survey will also ask you about the transaction features as well, whether or not you're interested, what kind of questions you still have, or if there are things that are preventing you from being able to use that feature set. So let us know in that survey as well. R. Ferris, there are currently no features available for allowing you to transfer transactions or details from one account to another. I'd be interested in learning a little bit more about what you exactly mean by transfer. And, we can certainly look at how we can implement that in the future. So keep an eye out for an email from us. With that, guys, I'm going to wrap for today. I really appreciate everybody spending this hour with me going over transaction streaming features. I hope you guys have a better understanding as to how they work in Neat, and maybe you're interested in giving them a shot. Definitely keep an eye out on our webinar library. We have new upcoming webinars, coming up, pretty much every Wednesday, or an automated webinar that we run every week. So keep an eye out for those. But otherwise, I wish you all a fantastic rest of your day. Take care and bye for now. Thanks, guys.